And we're live. Hello there.
Uh,
Ah!
Welcome back to the podcast, episode 3. We're
Yes.
on social media now, Instagram, TikTok,
TikTok,
on
yep.
YouTube. Finally got it up. Got a nice response. Pretty solid fan base. We like it.
Solid 20 people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. Hey, I mean, you gotta start somewhere, right?
That's
So we talked about in the other two. They were both, or episode 2 hasn't dropped yet as of now, but it will be by the time this comes out. So
yes. Yeah.
talked about the MCU in both of those, and I wanted to shift my focus to the
Oh no.
DCEU.
Oh god.
So everyone can agree it's not great. And there are decent movies and some good ones
What
with
do you mean?
decent moments, but as a whole, it's a failure.
What
So,
do you mean?
to start,
So good.
before even diving into individual movies,
Just
I
ignore
just
what
want
I'm
to talk about
saying. Fine.
why has it failed while the MCU has thrived and had success when they're both, superhero franchises with strong fan bases and pretty strong following. So you would expect them both to be good. Why has this one failed as opposed to the DCU?
They made
I'll start.
okay, you
Big
start.
thoughts. So first of all, I don't think every franchise needs to have a universe. So, the Godzilla movies and the King Kong ones, they're trying to make their own little monster verse or whatever. They're trying to
Yeah.
connect Godzilla versus Kong, whatever. And then, like, there's movies now that have no business having post credit scenes that do. Even like Venom and Morbius, like, they're going to be connected to the MCU, but they're trying to tie together all their movies. And DCEU, obviously, Man of Steel ties together, and they randomly tie them together, then sometimes they don't. And I just think not all of them need to be it doesn't need to be a connected universe all the time. And I think they thrive best when it's individual. Like Joker, I thought was good. Dark Knight trilogy is on its own. And I don't know. And movies are just like Shazam was its own thing. Like the best ones are the ones that are alone. So I'll let you go now. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's true that there's the best movies related to the DC, not even the DCU, just like DC movies as a whole
yeah,
are the ones that feel kind of disconnected from the DCEU, but also the DC's whole thing is the Justice League, and like that's, I mean, at least in comics and before movies, that was pretty much as big as Avengers,
yeah,
and like I don't know, it just feels like if you can't even get that right, like there's no point of making like that is what they're trying to aim for, is a good team movie because that's their biggest thing. And if they're not making the most, I mean, I don't know how much money Justice League made, but obviously it didn't get good
yeah,
reviews. And if that's not like one of their better movies, then that's just like I don't. It's just like bad. Like you don't want that at all.
yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, their solo movies. I think they should make more, just like disconnected movies that like just focus on one character and develop like an actual character arc. Because the Justice League movie, I mean, there's a lot of flaws, but no character is really developed in any way. It was just them kind of
Existing.
moving the plot, and it was really like bad.
So here's my thoughts. I was thinking about it a little bit, like just as you're talking the stuff you're saying about it, like how the individual ones are the best. So I was thinking of almost as the Star Wars sequel trilogy, which we'll talk about another time. It's just like each one is a reaction to something, and they're trying to improve upon it from that. Like here's an example. So with Man of Steel, they made that whatever. I haven't seen that still, but then Batman vs Superman, they tried to deal with the aftermath of that and create like a thing. All right, so they've already established all these three characters: Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman in it. Now, when you get to Justice League, you're stuck trying to pull these three characters, make a team up movie, but you're stuck with like the hate that those two movies got while trying to make like a satisfying team up, and they don't do that. So their reaction to that is to make Aquaman and Shazam and Birds of Prey, which like they remind you like, hey, it's still part of the universe, but it's not, and
Yeah,
that's when they do best. I feel like is like doing those types of movies that focus on a character like that because they're not forcing a universe and they're not trying to please fans. They're just trying to make like a solid. That's why people say those feel like the most like Marvel movies because people think it's because of the comedy, but it's really because they just have a fluid like story.
yeah, and like Justice League, they just like it could have been good if they had executed it correctly and like you I feel like you didn't get to meet the characters at all. Like you knew, I mean, you kind of know Batman just from the other movies,
Yeah,
Superman, a Wonder Woman, like you know them from their own movies. Like Wonder Woman's probably the one character that you can actually kind of because her movie was actually decent and like she actually got development. Um, but like Batman and Superman feel so like bland as characters, and they're just like they just took their base qualities and made that them character. Like they don't have any um depth.
And it's really odd to try to establish universe. I'm not saying they should have used Christian Bale's Batman, but that trilogy was so good because not only was it accurate, but they tried to just make movies and not connect it to anything, and they used his own villains. Obviously, that's a really strong trilogy. Not everything's going to be that, but the Batman, Superman, and Spider Man are like arguably the three most just popular superheroes like anywhere. Like say you haven't seen a movie or anything, you've heard those names. So you get characters like Captain America and Thor and Hulk. Like they're famous now because the movies made them famous. But like to have like such strong and well known characters like Batman and Superman and just mess it up that bad, just
Yeah.
it shows just how poor they are at writing because it's not the characters that are the issue. It's them, you know. So
Yeah.
like, you got to give props to Marvel for that. So I don't just want to rip on it the whole time because we could go into each movie and tear it apart. But
Yeah.
I want to talk about like their victories and how they could,
Mhm.
use that, not just the DCU, just DC as a whole, and like what they could do in the future to actually, make a franchise people want to see.
Well, one of the things, and Cosmonaut brought it up in his video for Aquaman, is I do like, at least in Aquaman, the Aquaman fight scenes were actually really well choreographed. And the one thing, I mean, I like them occasionally, and I like a couple of them, but the shaky cam fight scenes, they get really confusing sometimes in the Marvel movies.
Yeah,
And you get, it just feels like I know the shaky cam is supposed to like emphasize that a lot is going on, it's going fast, but sometimes it's just nice. Like the Aquaman, it like zooms out
yeah,
of
and
the picture and it shows the whole fight scene. It like looks really cool. And I think Marvel could definitely benefit from using some of those more techniques, and DC could definitely benefit from doing it more in their movies. But that's definitely one thing that I think they did pretty well.
yeah, I think so. I don't know. I just what comes to mind immediately, like I think Shazam and Aquaman are like and Wonder Woman are pretty decent ones, and those are because they're not connected. But like we're just disregarding the franchise part as a whole. Like I think the best thing that DC has produced is still the Joker movie. That movie's so hard to watch, like just because it's so like emotionally draining.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if they do have such like deep characters that if they like, and they're doing that with that Batman movie coming out next year. But it's they gotta let go. That's what their struggle is. Like they keep playing this back and forth game where they're like, okay, Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck have quit DC. No more of those. Then they announced that Flash movie with Ezra Miller, and they're like, "Oh, we're bringing back Michael Keaton's Batman." It's like, what are
there's a
we doing?
creator
Like, if you're
cut.
gonna drop them, drop it together because
Yeah,
their strongest suits are that Joker movie. So they see that and they're like, "Oh, let's make an individual Batman movie." It's like, okay, they're rebooting, but they're rebooting in a good way to just start making individual solo films that are actually interesting.
yeah. I think they have to divert all their attention to just resetting completely, but instead they're like focusing things on like what you said, the Flash movie. They just released Wonder Woman 2. The shirt.
Yeah,
I don't want to Snyder cut is ooh.
yeah, but see, that's what I'm. They're just they won't let go. They keep like they're
Yeah,
like, oh, they've announced Aquaman 2 and Shazam 2 and this Black Adam movie, and then the perfect example is the Suicide Squad movie. Is it a prequel? Is it a sequel? Is it a reboot? No, nobody knows.
yeah.
Nobody knows what it is, and it's because it should be a reboot or its own individual thing, but they're still clinging on to like, oh yeah, this is part of that
Yeah.
extended universe.
Yeah. I
And
think if I know it's like out there, but if they were to just say like the Shazam movie's not part of the DCEU, I'd be completely fine with that.
it
Only
doesn't
thing
feel
that's
real.
connecting it is the cutscene that shows Superman at the end. That's it, right?
Yeah, and that's mostly a joke, honestly, more than anything.
Yeah, and it didn't even show his face. So like
Yeah,
you could say
because like
like
Deadpool has like Wolverine in it, but like that's a cameo, that's a joke almost more
yeah,
than
yeah, yeah.
even though they're part of the same universe.
Yeah. So I mean it like that was the only good movie that they've made, and it was because they actually got the tone right that people want to enjoy it, and it's like a movie that anyone could watch, a lot like a Marvel movie. It's funny, it's like doesn't take itself as serious as the other movies,
Yeah.
and the characters are more relatable, and they're like they have a personality trait. I don't get how that's so hard to do. It's not that hard.
Yeah, well, you think about all the movies that actually developed them. Okay, Aquaman, we're giving it praise because it's like the better of the bunch, but it really is almost a Black Panther ripoff, like beat for beat. And that's why like that movie's good is because they develop his character because it's almost the same thing that like Chadwick Boseman's character goes through. But what they specialize in is like Billy Batson and Shazam. Like you know his character. He's a kid and you feel for him. And then what was that? Whatever the other ones, Aquaman and Joker. Like that's literally a character study. Like the strongest ones are when they try characters. And like when you think about the other ones, like Batman vs Superman and Suicide Squad, there's no main character. Like it's those are the ones that struggle because, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I just don't know what they did right. Like I do, but like I don't know why they can't just do that again. Like clearly they've seen the success that those movies have had. Like why can't they reproduce that? Why are
Yeah,
they still trying to like cling on to this old idea that DCEU is good and that you should try making movies more like that? Like how the first Wonder Woman movie was pretty decent. Like it's probably like third on my list for DC movies. Well, not counting
yeah,
Dark Knight or anything like that. Those all go like are
yeah,
the top three. But and like I would watch that movie again. It's not that bad. But and then they completely screwed up. I mean, I haven't watched it because I don't want to. But Wonder
yeah.
Woman 84, like it's terrible.
It's hard to. So I don't want to judge a movie that I haven't seen yet, but this is what I'm talking. It's not just they're trying to connect to a universe. It's just such inconsistency.
Yeah,
So you go from a movie about Wonder Woman, and what everyone likes is the war film vibe, and the one thing that people like ripped on was that the final battle just randomly fought Ares, that
it
god,
was
whatever.
kind of
Like
weird.
the
Yeah,
rest of the movie was good, so
yeah,
you had to pass. But then they go to Wonder Woman 84, and without even seeing it, like spoilers ahead, if you're planning on watching that garbage, you the plot is a magic orb that you could grant wishes upon, just so they could bring back Chris Pine because he was a fan favorite. And it's like what are we doing? Like how is that related? And it's the inconsistent. So you think back to Justice League. I mean, it's more watchable than Batman vs Superman because they crack all these Marvel jokes and they make Ben Affleck like less gritty and shooting people like in Batman vs Superman. But Batman vs Superman connects to Justice League. They're so different because it's just inconsistent. It's not. It's just
yeah,
not how you develop a universe. Because even the tonal differences in the MCU are able to connect, like Infinity
yeah,
War.
yeah. And I feel like they definitely rushed the DC. I mean, the Justice League movie
Yeah, because Infinity
like
War was
a
coming out,
lot.
so like, hey, we gotta.
Yeah, they just like they saw Marvel was succeeding a lot, and they just kind of wanted to jump on that train. Because I remember, I distinctly remember thinking, um, I think it was Batman vs Superman where they teased it. I was
Yeah,
like, oh, they're already like teasing a Justice League movie,
yeah.
and then they had one like a year or two later or whatever, and it was like, okay, I
Oh
mean,
yeah, half the Justice League is introduced in that Justice League movie.
yeah, yeah,
Green Lantern's not even in it. So like it's just rushed. A lot of it.
and like they don't like at least Marvel, you didn't get to know all the characters. I mean, each character got like a decent amount of screen time
Even if
before
they
the
don't have
Avengers movie.
development, they at least have a defining trait about them.
Yeah,
Like you
but
could.
like I'm saying, like you actually got to see the characters before they're put in together and to
Oh
like
no, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
like other than Hawkeye, you don't. I mean, he's kind of in but no, he's in Thor, but like you just get to see him. It's more of a
He's
cameo.
pretty much the only one that you haven't seen.
But everyone else, you like know they had a movie except Black Widow. Black Widow's in a decent amount.
Yeah,
So I mean, like you actually knew the characters going into the movie. I mean, I guess not Bruce Banner because his movie was garbage and not related at all. But
yeah. And I'm not so. This is leads into the next thing I was gonna say. So I'm not like a fool for like, oh, comic accuracy or oh, this is they
yeah,
changed this.
yeah,
Now I hate this. It ruined my childhood. So there's, I think it's important to some extent. Like you hear these rules like Batman can't kill people or use guns. Does both of them in the other one. Whatever. Like, but it's different from making changes rather than reshaping the character as a whole. And like
yeah.
my next question was like what upcoming projects are you excited for? And I can only name a handful of them because there's really not that many, and the ones that are coming are
Just unrelated.
interesting.
Yeah,
But the one I was going to talk about is Batman. That the Batman movie coming out
yeah,
with
yeah.
like Robert Pattinson. So just by watching the trailers, it already just feels so much more like this is what we want, and it feels different than the Dark Knight, which is good. But it feels like a comic accurate Batman. It's like he's Batman. He feels like Batman. I've only seen a couple scenes of him, and like that's what
Mhm.
you want, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I haven't. I've only seen the trailer once. Like I know you've probably seen a lot more. And
Yeah,
Danny watched every day. Every day watched this trailer. But yeah, like I've seen it, and it definitely looked better than what they had in the DCU. I mean, I don't know if it'll top the Dark Knight. It's kind of hard, and
yeah,
it's like I hope they don't copy that because like ripping off a good movie is just you're
yeah.
not going to make it better. So
So I want to talk about when you talk about like past successes, and we're talking about the Dark Knight trilogy because that's top tier like what DC should be. So
yeah,
that is a movie, like even more than the MCU, that deals with like real life themes and like actual realistic, scenarios, even though it is like still
Yeah.
superhero, but it still has like the comic characters that you want. And like off the bat, that the Batman movie already feels like it seems like a mystery movie. Like it literally seems like he's trying to solve crimes like as a detective, and that's like a really interesting take on a character we've seen a million times now. And
Yeah.
like I don't want to just cling to like it needs to be like the comics, but Batman shooting bugs with a laser in like Justice League, like
Yeah.
you just what they're best at is telling real life stories with these characters that are superheroes. Like
Mhm.
Shazam was just like MCU like stuff, but like Joker, I want to keep talking about that because I've seen it once and it's still like every time I look back on it, like it was so perfectly done for what they needed to do.
Yeah. Like it's just so different, and like it's a movie where it leaves you thinking for like a day about it.
And it's a movie that gives you questions that you want answers to, but you don't
You
want
don't
them to
get them.
answer. Like
Yeah.
you don't want a
That. Yeah.
sequel.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
want to tie in. Like I like that. I think
Yeah.
that's cool.
It's a cool concept. Obviously, they can't really do that more because
Yeah.
it's like a standalone thing. Like you can't repeat it and make it part of a universe or anything like that. But it was definitely like a cool thing that could get people attracted towards the DC universe and whatever. But like they have to make one that's actually decent first for that to happen.
And so this is different. This isn't even one of my questions. I just thought of this. So I don't know how they could have such a universe that universally nobody likes, and their Arrowverse, that's DC. Like the few
Yeah.
episodes I see, there's literally like Batwoman and like Supergirl, and they're
Yeah.
making a Superman and Lois show. Like their focus is clearly there because they know the fan base. And you've seen, I know at least one of the shows, and I don't know if you've seen any others, but like what do you think is the key to that success? Like why the shows, the CW shows over their blockbuster movies? Why is that more successful?
Well, I mean, like, I hate to repeat it again, but like there's like character development. Like
Yeah,
there's like you feel for the characters. Like at least in Arrow. Arrow's like there's a lot happening. I don't remember. I haven't seen it in a really long time, and I didn't get to finish it because I just like kind of stopped watching it, and I watched The Flash more. But like the Oliver Queen goes through a lot of development, and it's a show that's more like Daredevil in a way,
yeah.
where it's like this character is dealing with like his his morals. Like he's fighting a battle with what's right and what's wrong, and he's using violence to do that. Like his shoot, I don't even remember what his signature line is, but like every time he's like gonna does he kill? I think he kills. Yeah, I
Cameron
think.
told me he kills you.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's been a really long time, but like he said, "Oh, you have failed this city." Like that's his thing that he says
Yeah,
after before every kill, and like I remember one line that he said like every time that he kills someone, like he feels like he loses a part of himself, but he's doing it for the greater good of the city. And it's like it's a pretty deep show for like, and it just feels so much more well thought out than the DCEU. And it's like serious shows are good, and it's hard to do a serious movie because you don't have as much time. But like it's been done. Like the Joker is an example. There's plenty of movies that have like it takes itself really really seriously, but they do it well in a way where it's not like ridiculous.
and to comment on like not everything needs to be a team up. They clearly have had a roadmap, and I don't know. I think the whole Arrowverse is like silly, and it's definitely cheesy and corny, and it's not for me. Just the concepts that they do, and
Yeah.
whatever. Like it doesn't need to be for everyone. I'm gonna hate on it, but I got to give them props for the way like the team ups I see. It's so natural and flowing, and not just because the shows are like totally consistent, but the characters you spent time with them, so seeing them meet up is so much more satisfying. Like they actually work together for a common cause that's connected on all the shows, and I think that what Defenders kind of does in AMCU TV.
I wouldn't call it
No,
that.
or is it
I
Force TV?
wouldn't call it. It's not very good.
Really? Okay, because that seems like that's what they did. Because you told me that like Defenders leads into the next Daredevil season or one of them.
No, it does, but I'm saying it's
But
just
I don't know. Okay, well
I
anyway,
wouldn't compare to the Arrow. It's not nearly as good.
yeah. Anyway, but I don't know. I think that's they gotta focus on those successes, and if that means TV, then I guess that's what they do because
Yeah,
and it's gonna be weird like years looking back on the DCEU because it's gonna feel so choppy. Like if you don't have the whole backstory, it's like, wait, why is this Suicide Squad coming? There already was one. And it's like, oh, you can skip that one. That's not important anymore. It's like,
yeah.
well, it's gonna be weird rewatching that in the future and being like,
Mhm.
why does this exist?
And like
But
to just like talk about the shows just one more time. Like
yeah,
another
yeah,
thing that a lot of fans were mad about, I think, was they didn't use I think no, I don't want to say his name wrong. I think it's like Grant Austin or something.
Frank Gustin.
Grant, yeah, yeah. But they didn't use him as an actor like
Yeah,
for the Flash because he's like he portrays Barry Allen really well in a way that he's a likable character
Ezra
that
Miller.
like you it's like he's he's a lot like Spider-Man in a way where he's just always trying to do the right thing.
He's struggling with like
Yeah. And like the Flash in the DCU is just like he's literally there only as a comic relief and he's not doing a very good job of it at it. And it's just the jokes feel really forced and he just doesn't feel like he fits in the rest of the tone or the group at all. And like I don't know, they just have to make a movie where you can relate to the characters and they work well together. Like that's like borderline like what a movie should have.
and I wanna okay, this is too easy to rip on, but I want to talk about every villain in the DCU just because, and it won't take that long because they're all very like base level. I just yes, like the last MCU talk we had, we were going through like villains and like what they mean, and even if they're pretty generic, like Ronan or something, at least you see their motivations for like even though he's like I want to hurt everyone, like he you at least sort of see where he's coming from. But
Yeah.
they they feel like cartoon characters in the DCU. Like I'm just gonna throw Steppenwolf. Really easy to rip on, but like if you're not going to get the characters right, at least make a real threat. There's no doubt watching that movie that they're going to succeed and that this guy is no real danger. And like, that just takes so much enjoyment out of the movie.
It his like whole thing was so dumb too. Like if you're scared of him, then you like get attacked by his minion things. And
So,
his character is probably one of the most generic villains I've ever seen. And like that's saying something cuz the MCU has a lot of them.
yeah.
And at least they
But
like
they
they're a
have
little better than but like
they
he's
have
just
characters that you like care about. Like that's what makes
yeah.
them
And
relevant.
his lines, like I think it was in the pitch meeting where they said, yeah,
Yeah.
his lines, they're just ridiculous. Like what? Who wrote them?
But yeah, and then so like talking about like even if you have weak characters, you have a strong villain. Take the first Thor. Loki isn't himself obviously in that, but he was immediately a fan favorite after that, and it's because like he's a cool villain, and you kind of see where he's coming from. He's like been pushed to the side, and Thor has favorite.
Yeah.
Like that's what even kept me watching that movie. It's like, hey, Loki's has something to do, while Thor's just I didn't like that movie at all. But
Well,
I
they
just
just didn't execute the idea of taking away someone's powers. Like you can do it correctly, and they definitely didn't. They just made it boring. Like if you're gonna have a movie where a superhero loses their powers or like loses
Captain
like yeah,
Marvel.
we're not gonna talk about that movie. We already did. But if you're gonna do that, then you have to have a lot of character growth and it has to focus on their character a lot more.
Has to pay
Like
off. Satisfy.
yeah, like Thor, he learns a lesson, sure, but it's not shown that well in any way. Like kind of, but not really. Uh, It's just it's not well written. Like I'm trying to
So
think of a
we
movie that does
just
it
talk
well.
about arcs. I was gonna actually branch off back into the Justice League because I had a next like question to talk about. But last thing, talk about character arcs. I don't know if I've seen a DCU movie like with an actual character arc. Maybe that's too like general because I'm not a huge DCU fan. I know enough about it to be able to. But excluding Aquaman, his was like to learn to rise up and take responsibility and be king. Not only is it generic, but that's pretty much Black Panther's arc. Like we draw
Yeah.
comparisons because it's very similar. I
Well,
don't know.
even so, it's like you're supposed to be helping the people of the world in Black Panther, and then Aquaman has to be helping just
Like
people in general. It's really similar as a
like
movie.
with Billy Batson's in Shazam to learn to be a hero. Like that movie's good, but it gets a pass because it's supposed to be a comedy, and it's just an enjoyable. You're
Yeah.
not supposed to think about it, but
I mean, I think there's like somewhat of an arc. It's kind of like his whole character is like he's done, which is like he's tired of going through foster homes and um like meeting new people and trying to relate, like just like live a normal life, and like he finally finds a friend and he gets these powers, and it I don't know how to explain. Like I mean, I think
I
it's
know
not a very good arc.
he does learn responsibility though, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah, for
but
yeah,
the fact that we're even talking about it, like we're reaching a little bit, but it's true, it's there, but it should be like that, even though
yeah.
But okay,
I don't really remember the movie that well, kind
not
of.
even trying to get into the politics of like the whole like background and like how the director was wrong, but Justice League. So the Snyder Cut. I want to talk about not only like how like not only what it is because we've just been dissecting like not our feelings on it, just like what it is, but how do you feel just about a director's cut coming out, a 4 hour director cut to a movie that they said, oh, we don't like that. We're going to take out the main villain, most of the heroes, and cut down the runtime in half.
I just hope that it's funny to watch. That's all. I'm not
So
hoping
you're not
for
even
much more.
expecting like a good
Oh
thing yet.
no. I mean, you can't, if they decided to cut away some stuff and that's what they were left with,
Yeah.
I'm not very hopeful for what they cut away.
Like, and the fact that that was, I know DCU is just a ball of fire, but like the fact that they saw that and they're like, this is better than what he was going to make. How much hope is that? The fact they cut out a main villain, the main villain, how bad is he going to be? If he looks like a video game character in the trailer, but maybe that's just because they don't have the budget anymore. I mean, I don't. And then so you didn't have Instagram in the years leading up, but well, it came out in 2017, I think, Justice League. From
Yeah.
2017 all the way to like August of last year when they announced it, hashtag
Snyder cut.
save the Snyder Cut, hashtag Snyder Cut, hashtag bring the Snyder Cut. Every DC, like I cannot stress enough, every post like on Rotten Tomatoes that was even related to
It's become a
superheroes.
joke. Like people aren't.
But it was not at that point.
I
Like
know.
they really wanted it, and now that they announce it, it is a joke. Like it's
What's like maybe they did just cut out like a lot that was good, because I know Jared Leto's Joker got cut out pretty much, like all of his lines got cut out from Suicide Squad.
yeah, there's a
And he
director's
was
cut
like
of that
pissed
too.
about it, and like I think he's like, I think he gets hated on a lot more than he probably should. Like he's not that bad of a Joker. You
Oh,
just didn't really get any.
just have to respect that they're doing something different because you
Yeah,
not Heath Ledger and he's not Joaquin Phoenix. He's his own version of the Joker, and I didn't hate it, but it's just it's a what the heck moment because they don't justify why they're doing it. Like if he
he
had
was
development,
barely in the movie. Like you don't get to know him
exactly,
at
yeah.
all.
Like why would he not be the main villain or like at least part of the school? Like why are we doing this? It's so
Yeah,
weird, such an odd choice, and he's not even in Birds of Prey because he didn't want to return for that. So
it's just I
it's
don't
it's
know.
just a mess. I just don't if the director's cut is really that good, like why is it not out? And if it is that good, then like that just proves how bad DC is, I guess, as a like
Bad
Warner Bros.
managing, like
Yeah,
yeah, that's just
but they're competent, like they're not. So that has to be a reason. And then again, so Zack Snyder he had a 3 hour Ultimate Edition, you know, of I remember
yeah.
Superman. I don't know if you know it existed, but it's like 40 more minutes. It's bad apparently. People like it, but I think it's just more extended action and just more. I don't know,
Well, it's
but
just like one of the things Cosmonaut said was like you I don't care about comic accuracy, but when you completely change a character's motivations and what makes that character
I feel like
special to people, like that's not even like you're completely changing everything. That's completely different. Like Superman and Batman go against everything that you know that they're supposed to stand for. Like Batman, he may hurt people, he may do all this stuff, but in his heart, he's doing it for the right reasons. He doesn't kill people. That's not his thing. He doesn't do it because he knows that's way too far and he doesn't need to do that. And the fact that like they just did it without a second thought. And then Superman, he's supposed to be like the Captain America of the
literally
DCEU.
the most morally correct person.
And he's like, he doesn't, I don't even know what he says in the movie. Like all of his lines are just like really bland.
Martha.
And and Henry Cavill, I don't think he's that bad of an actor. I just don't know what happened.
It's hard to tell because he doesn't have much to do. So
Yeah,
don't.
it's just really like they just made him exactly what you think he would be, with an alien, and that's what he feels like. And he never really develops into a human. That's what he's like. He's supposed to be a big supporter of the human race and like that's what he
because
wants
he
to
was dreaming
save.
this whole
It's
thing.
hard to save them when you are literally nothing like them. So it's really strange. And that was Zack Snyder's doing. So I don't know how his cut's gonna be.
That's why everyone's begging for the cut, and it's like there's a difference. Like fan, okay, I want to talk about fan service, just how to do it right. This could be a whole nother talk, honestly. It could be its own podcast, but um, movies are for the fans. When I say people like bash Endgame, like me, I don't bash it, but the movie is fan service, but I don't hate it for that. These movies are for the fans, and you can't hate fan service for existing because it keeps people engaged. So, okay, so anyway, it keeps people engaged. So I don't know when people go to these movies for the characters, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing the opposite of fan service by removing their defining traits and leaving them with the garbage story. Like fan service is not throwing these people. They're like, oh, that guy Doomsday, he's in the comics. That's cool. That's not fan service. Fan service is doing things that the fans want that actually help to make like convey a fluid story and the
Yeah.
complex. And I don't know. I That's what worries me about the Snyder Cut is the fact that it's 4 hours long. It's like I feel like it's gonna be a bunch of stuff thrown in, like, oh, that's from the comics. That's nice.
Yeah.
Like
It's
you,
just
you
gonna
don't you
a
want
lot
to
of
you want
references.
to add something. And my biggest fear is that it comes out and they're like, screw the Justice League. That's canon now. That's our storyline. We're gonna move on from there.
I'm gonna
It's
be
gonna be
so confused once the new Suicide Squad comes out and that is part of the universe and just like all the things can become really, really like odd. I don't know. At least MCU stuck
it's
to just
borderline like X-Men with the timelines. It's not even timelines. It's just they've
the
made
X
like
Men still like it's all connected, but it's just like the time's all screwed up. Like this would just be the movies are just like you don't know what's
that's
what.
literally the franchise messed up, not the actual like movies themselves.
Yeah,
I and I don't know. It's clearly the fans want it if they've been asking for this song. And like we keep referencing the MC just because they did it so well. But props to them. They've never had an issue with like release this cut, release that, because for the most part they do allow the director's vision. And the only one I know that they didn't, I think John Favreau. I forget if it was Iron Man. 2. No, it might have been Avengers or something. There was okay. I remember. No, no, no. It was Iron Man 2. So he
he
did.
didn't. I don't think he directed
He didn't
Avengers.
direct Avengers, but I thought that he was trying to do Avengers and he left the project. But it wasn't that. I was trying to think of like the scenario I was trying to reference. He
Yeah,
did Iron Man 2. And the only thing I could think about, like it wasn't a fan thing, but that like the studio actually meddled with it, is they forced all these like different things into it. Like I'm pretty sure Feige wanted to have, like the three villains in it, whatever. I don't know why, but I remember like I remember reading somewhere that Favreau like wasn't happy with that. That was
yeah.
not his
I
vision with
mean,
it because he did the first Iron Man. He kept it simple. People liked it. So studio meddling defines the DCEU, and it's probably the biggest. Is it? There's so many issues, but that it comes down to that.
yeah. I just don't. I don't know if the actors are bad. Like
That's a like
it's just like I think they're just given bad scripts and characters, and like what they're told to do is probably just like not good. I mean, what is a good movie Ben Affleck has been in? I just keep thinking of Daredevil the movie.
yeah, I
It's
know.
so bad. But I don't think that was his fault really, because it was just. Ooh. um. Yeah. So I mean, if they're gonna reset, I don't think they should keep the same actors anyways, because then it would just be way too confusing. There's like, yeah, these are the same people, but it's not connected, and this is what we are doing now. So just ignore everything else we've done.
I would be satisfied if they literally just not reboot, but it's hard because you don't just want to drop the franchise dead because then you become like a laughing stock, but you don't want to continue it and like have it overstay its welcome. Because like the reason I'm excited for Suicide Squad is it seems besides Harley Quinn being in it, it seems disconnected from the rest. And they brought James Gunn on. Like these are the things they need to do. They need to give people with a vision and who know how to do this creative control so they could
To hire
make
Marvel
a story.
directors.
Yeah, of course. They're
Take
like,
our movies away.
yeah,
Postpone Guardians more, please.
yeah. It's really frustrating. And they have success with the Arrowverse, so I don't see why not just focus. And they have focused on it, and they have had like success with it. So I just don't know how you could go from that so drastically to movies not even being like comprehensible.
Yeah.
I
DC.
know. I'm out of questions. If you have any more to talk
Bad.
about,
What else in the DCU?
I don't know. I
I think we should talk about the Joker movie. It's just there's a lot to take in.
Yeah, I did too. Just because it's something we did right, and we keep like generally referencing like issues. And I want to talk about something that's actually good. I don't want to do a full review, but I want to. Yeah, let's talk about the things they do right and like why we are asking for these not character studies, but these individual films. So you can start it.
This it's just like it's so different. It's like walking into that movie, you're expecting something that's gonna be like everyone knew that it was gonna be different from the
Yeah,
start. But when you walk out of that theater, you're just like left like thinking just like for hours about what you just watched, and
affects your like mood. Like
it's
like
like you finished like that feeling when you finish. No, it's not that feeling actually. It's kind of like it. Like when you finish a good show,
yeah,
you're just like left kind of empty and not knowing what to do. It's kind of like that.
and you don't know if you want more or less, or you want to talk to someone, but you don't. But you want to
Yeah,
look up stuff. But yeah, it's
yeah.
just that not even overwhelmed. Just like you're in deep thought about it, and that's yeah. I don't know. I There's no villain in that movie. Like you could technically call like Robert De Niro, what's his name,
Um,
Murray,
yeah.
whatever. I think it's a really interesting thing. I know people say it's a copy of like Taxi Driver or whatever. I've never seen it, but
It's there's like a lot of movies that are like
there's a lot of parallels for sure. But
yeah.
I think it's a very interesting thing to have like I don't know. People were hating it at first before it even released because they're like, oh, the interesting about Joker is he doesn't have a backstory. Like keep him mysterious and he's an insane person. But I don't know if you're not gonna do anything else with this character anyway. Like, why not? Like, and the weird. Okay, so the weird thing is, at the end is they felt the need to show Bruce Wayne's parents dying again and be like, oh, so this happened. But
It was
I was fine. I was indifferent. But the best parts were just like they took their time. The pacing was so good because they had nowhere to be, nowhere to rush, nothing to set up,
yeah.
no
There
third
was
act to rush to. But there's literally one of the opening scenes. He's sitting there with a cigar like this, no music, no talking, just him laughing, coughing, and like crying. Like that sets the tone immediately.
it's just like they took a well-known character and they didn't ruin it, but it's not the Joker.
Yeah,
Like it just has the same
it is
name and
not a
it happens to look a little like him.
yeah,
They give him like a name. He's never had one before.
yeah,
I don't think in the comics,
yeah.
definitely not in the movies. And they
Yeah,
like give him a backstory, and he's not the calculating, well planned Joker that the Dark Knight has at all.
yeah,
Like they relate to the same issue of having like obviously you can tell in the Dark Knight he's mentally unstable, but this Joker is like a whole new, like it's just different.
yeah. The only time like he's ever gotten a backstory is in the like 1980 Batman or whatever, and he had a name. It was like Jack Napier. That's just because he started as like a gangster, and they wanted to show it's not a character development like
Yeah,
backstory at all. It's just like how he looked like that pretty much and became.
yeah.
But he was already like a mafia person. But you get to see this already mentally unstable person, and the fact that he's a well-known character, like it's such a genius move to like have the audience have expectations about like what's going to happen at the end. He's going to become this like madman who pretty much leads the city and brings an uprising of like the working class who's very like disgruntled, I guess. But
Also, you don't
it's
know
really
that.
like everything that happens just sets forward like you understand more and more and more, and like each one is another like blow to the gut. Like oh my gosh, like his comedy show, even like just watching up on stage, like it turned out being good, but then and then the three murders on the train are like brutal to watch, and it's another thing. He like brings satisfaction from it. Then he finds out his mom is like I don't even remember what the twist was. I just remember what was that.
What?
I don't remember if he was like adopted or he like wasn't actually related to his mom or something.
Oh, it was what the one dude was his dad. The one wait, was it Bruce
They
Wayne's?
said it was Thomas Wayne, but it didn't actually. It wasn't actually him.
It wasn't.
They were setting up for that, but he like no.
I don't remember. I just yeah.
Anyway, it just kept slowly progressing, and like the biggest, most interesting. Just I don't like how they flashed back still and showed every moment that she was there and wasn't there, but it was one of the most subtle ways of showing like
Like
because
you
you
don't
had a
know.
feeling like something felt off, like that this girl with like I think she had a son or something. I don't know, but it was really weird that like she was attracted to this man and dating him, and it further showed his like insanity. This girl meant so much to him who'd said like hi to him once in the hallway, and he finally sits in her room and she's like, "Who are you? Please get out of here." And it's like that was like the most subtle way of showing like this guy's insane. Like and it was
Yeah.
like the last thing that I don't know. It was just
It was just like such a like a deep moment. Like you felt for that character. You
Yeah,
know that
you
he's
know he's
crazy,
that's
but
one of
it's
the
just like wow, like everything that just happened in the movie is fake, and you don't know. I mean, maybe some parts were real. You don't know. That's the
yeah,
whole
and it's
point of
from
the
his
movie.
like that is a really interesting way to tell a story. I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. I've never seen anything like it, even though I haven't seen Taxi Driver, and I think a lot of parallels to that, but still,
Yeah.
just deep themes. And it's a movie that's not a superhero movie, but it has a superhero, like,
Mhm.
if you want to call him protagonist, I don't even know. I guess he is considered it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. And a thing with that is, I imagine they gave like Todd Phillips, the director, and Joaquin Phoenix like mostly creative control because I can't see DC producing something like that. And like I imagine Joaquin Phoenix like wrote most of his own role because like he became it. Like he was that person.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know about in real life.
He's a
He's
person.
weird, but like he definitely portrayed that role really, really well.
But it's just a really like why not for the rest of the DCU? Like just experiment and try new things because like we just saw that they made a movie. He didn't even have his arch nemesis like Batman in it. Didn't have the traditional path, and it like well, he won awards for it. I'm pretty sure, right? He got
Yeah. Yeah.
something, and
He definitely did.
like and everyone like generally liked it. And it's why not? Like that. That's why I'm excited for that new Batman movie, and the new Suicide Squad one. Let's just they're trying new things, and like why at this point they have nothing to lose. They've already
Yeah.
lost
They
everything.
have literally nothing to lose.
So I don't know. It just goes to show, like, really back to the main point. I don't want it to be repetitive, but not everything needs to be a universe. Not everything needs to be connected. Not everything needs to
Yeah.
even tie to the comics. Because I don't think he's very comic accurate, even though but it just make a compelling story and compelling character. It's the least you can do, and it pays off tremendously.
Yeah. Yeah. It, they just they have to do their own thing. Like they can't like I guess they kind of tried to in the DCU, but they just didn't do it right. Like
They
they,
were
but they can't copy Marvel's thing. Like
they
they
were
have to.
influenced by the so imagine making a trilogy like The Dark Knight, the Christopher Nolan one, own standalone thing, 3 movies, and it was off and it's done. That's set there. Really good. They had a roadmap. They completed it and it was really strong. And then you go from that success to being like, oh, the MCU is doing this connected universe. We got to ride that wave. It's such a weird thing to follow. Like not everything. It's just because it's making money and it's power doesn't mean everyone has to do it. And it's a really weird thing.
Well, you're never gonna be able to do it as better than them at
No,
this point.
exactly.
They've been
It's that's
doing
my
it for like successfully for 12 years or whatever. I think yeah, 2008 was first Iron Man. So
yeah.
it's just like you're not gonna be able to catch up with their success, especially with the release of Endgame and Infinity War. Like those are the most defining movies of this like when you think of a superhero movie, that's obviously where your mind's gonna go. It's
And it's
like
just
you're not yeah.
I want to talk about toxic fan bases another podcast. I think it would be a really interesting like study and a thing to talk about. But it's just when you think about the MCU fans, no one is like unhappy ever. Like even with WandaVision, the fact that they're producing WandaVision and all the comments are like, "This trailer looks weird. I have no clue what's happening, but I'm excited." That is the best position to
Yeah.
be in, where
Yeah.
people aren't mad at the studio or the movie or the massive plot or the like.
I
They're
think
they're
people are
mad
just
about the little thing. Like that's
yeah, I think people are just starved for content at
exactly
this
yeah. But
point.
the fact that they have built to get there
Yeah.
shows that like taking time, having a payoff like that is so worth it. And it I don't know. Like that's every time a DC movie comes out, something people find something to complain about. Like look at us, we're complaining about the whole thing. But like
Yeah.
there's like when we complain about MCU things, they're little things and just differences in our opinions, not even like rights and wrongs.
Yeah, it's like when you meet a Marvel fan, you're like, that's cool. Like you don't ask them tip I mean you do, I guess, like with their superhero, like best favorite superheroes, but you don't typically you don't criticize them. Like if you were to walk up are you like, oh, you a Star Wars fan? They say yes, and then you ask them, they like which trilogy? Like immediately, if they're not agreeing with you, they're like you're not gonna get off to a good start with that person.
But at least Star Wars has had such an impact. Like I'm not saying everything's gonna be Star Wars because obviously one, but like there is no fan base for the DCU,
Yeah,
and it's so sad. Like I don't know who they're targeting, and it's really disappointing.
and there's people out there that like those movies. Maybe
Maybe
they're out there somewhere.
I guess so. Just I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've said everything needs to be said, and it's
Yeah,
I don't know. Just looking to the future, more of what we got from not everything has to be Joker, but or the Dark Knight trilogy, just more of that. And this new Batman movie coming out, even if it blows, at least they're not trying to connect it to a universe.
They have to do something.
They're
That's
not like an incom like Warner Brothers is a big, like they're capable. It's not like they're
I
complete
think
idiots.
Marvel should buy, or Disney should just buy DC, and then
They'll buy
just a whole big universe.
everything. Yeah, so I don't know. I think we've been talking for a while. So I want to close out this segment just by talking about for us what's in the future.
Mm. Like
We're
our
on episode
podcast,
3.
or what
Like
do you
what do we
mean?
got coming up?
Oh, we're gonna have some guests coming on the show. I won't say who they are
Yeah.
yet,
So
but
yeah, like the name of our podcast, Nathan Steven Podcast Time. So it's us, but yeah, it's more interesting to have guests. But yeah,
we're just gonna, bounce from topic to topic. Probably talk about some shows coming up.
yeah,
Again, I won't say which or what, but there'll be good ones that
yeah.
are terrible,
It'll
like
be
DC.
satisfying because with these things, these are one-off videos. Like there's when we're discussing things like the fan base or like a whole franchise or something like that's
There's a
something you
lot
think
to
we'll
talk
think
about.
about.
Yeah.
And there's been no releases lately except for the Mandalorian, which he hasn't seen yet. But like that's the only thing I could. But now we're past that, so it's gonna be cool to have like new shows and movies coming out where we can actually review it and give our thoughts, whether
Yeah.
that's 10
Yeah.
minute or 30 minute.
100%.
Because we talk about this all the time. I'm sure everyone does, and it's just it'll be on record now, and it's a really cool thing. So I'm excited for that
Yeah.
because it'll be fresh and new, and
Oh my gosh.
we'll be excited because like these thoughts that we're talking about, have sat in my head for probably 5 years. Like it'll be cool to
Yeah.
have takes on stuff.
DC. Ooh.
Yeah, wow.
I don't know. They messed up that bad. It just doesn't.
It's remarkable actually. It's I don't know how you do that.
Okay. Well, we're gonna close out the segment. Well, not yet. Not no 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 no. Go
What?
follow us on Instagram at podcast_time_times. Also, the TikTok is the same handle.
Where you at?
We'll be posting clips of from our podcast and
In the frame.
okay. Oh, hello, Cameron. He was a guest on one of our other things. And then on our Instagram, we'll be posting when our next podcast are coming up. So check
And
out
yeah,
there.
also Instagram, DM us if you want to be on one.
Yep.
Watching this in the comments, drop what you want next, because
And give us an idea of what you want to talk about because
yeah,
we
exactly.
usually let the guests choose. So, that's it for our podcast today. So, okay. Bye bye.
Bye.